Hello, Hollywood Time viewers. Judy Shields here. Today, we're happy to welcome Grammy-nominated singer, songwriter, pianist, producer, and actress, Sheléa. She had to tell me how to pronounce her name, so I got it right, I think, right?
Yes, you did. Very good.
It's beautiful. Who were you named after?
It's a variation of my mother's name, which that's usually the pronunciation that most people say, which is Sheila.
Yeah.
And so that is my mother's name. She spells it the traditional way, Sheila. But they did a variation of it. It's Sheléa.
Sheléa. Yeah, it's beautiful. It comes
Thank
off the
you.
tongue. So,
Thank you so much.
like Princess Leia, as you were telling me. So there you go.
Yeah. That usually helps people. Like when you
Yeah.
have something that, is like ingrained in your memory, then
Yeah.
it helps.
Folks, I have to say it helped me too.
Yeah.
So we're here to talk about your new song out called Never Give Up on Love. I have to say, wow, what a great song, amazing score, and a beautiful voice.
Thank you so much. I'm really excited about it and I'm loving that people are responding to it.
What was the inspiration to write the song?
Uh, my own life. I got married during the pandemic. I found love during the pandemic. My husband and I have been married now 4.5 years.
Wow.
And I remember I had met with my incredible collaborator, Davey Nathan. We wrote this song, produced the song together. And I was just talking to him about, just our relationship and that's where this song came from about never giving up on love. And I think, so many people can relate to that. If this is your second time at finding love or just have had a bad luck of a string of not so great relationships. It's just a little message that says never give up, because your person can come at any time. My husband DM'd me on Instagram, and 3 months later we were married, and it's been going on 4.5 years. So it was truly it felt like wow, I didn't give up. I wasn't looking for it, and here it came.
So you guys didn't even meet in person? He DM'd you? Or did you know
So
of him?
I will. It's a little bit of a longer story. We
Okay.
knew each other for many years. We actually went to the same college in
Nice.
yes, it's called Oakwood College. Then it's now Oakwood University. But we went on to like lead very different lives. There was definitely an attraction then, but
Yeah.
we both were dating other people, and so we went on to lead very incredible big lives. And social media, it's so incredible how it makes you you can kind of stay up to date on what someone is doing in their life. And so there were times, I saw when he's a physician, and so he would be one of the analysts on NBA TV talking about injuries. He's a teleradiologist, and when I starred in one of my movies, he DM'd me. So we always had just a friendly online, but not at all intimate, not at all like that's my buddy. I didn't have his phone number. There was nothing, And then he just DM'd me literally out of the blue, September of 2020, and just said, I feel like in another life we would have been really good friends. And for me, that just totally disarmed me. It totally disarmed me. He said, I'm in New York right now, and I'm going to be back home in Los Angeles, he just said Southern California soon. And I would just love to take you out to lunch sometime. And that lunch turned into uh, being married three months later. And here we are. I know now that could have gone horribly wrong, but But it was just one of those things where everything just aligned. My family loved him, and it's just been a really beautiful, inspirational story to so many of my friends. And then, people who know about our story of just very organically and beautifully finding love. And I definitely wanted to write a song that reflected that. And yes, I'm talking about, romantic love, and I've said this a few times, but it really is never give up on what you love, or who you love. Maybe this song is for a child,
Yeah.
um
Yeah.
maybe it's just telling you, it's a song to yourself of like,
Yes.
never give up on what you're passionate about. If you want to go back to school, if you want to start that business or whatever it might be, it's just about just never giving up on who or what you love.
Yes, it's very inspirational. So, you're a singer, songwriter, pianist, producer, and then actress. You have to be a script writer because you need to make that into a Hallmark story. That's such a great love story.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I would love to do that. It's so funny you say that. I actually am finishing up a movie, but it's a Christmas one. But you're right. This is a movie in the making for sure.
Yeah, it was a great story. Thank you for sharing it. So, how old were you when you discovered your voice?
Wow. I don't even remember discovering it. It's always was there. And
Great.
it's
I love that
incredible.
answer.
Yeah, because my mom, I remember her writing in my baby book, the book,
Yeah.
write all the little, things that happen in a child's life. She said when I was just 11 months, which is kind of scary. But she said she was at a baby shower and someone would sing a note and then I would sing that exact same note. And this is like before I even turned a year old. And then
Wow.
by the time I was 2 years old, I was harmonizing. And by the time I was four, I remember this little wooden piano
Oh,
that they had given me. I was writing little songs and playing, little songs for my sisters. So I always, people will say, how did you find music? I feel like, music found me. I never even had a chance. Both of my parents are very musical. My mom is actually a very beautiful singer, pianist as well. My dad's self-taught piano player, actually a really great songwriter, but their focus was more education. So my mom's a teacher, my
oh,
dad was a principal, he's now counseling. So, always in a school setting. In fact, I grew up thinking that everybody's parents had, summers off, Christmas breaks for 2 weeks, spring break, because both of my parents were in the education system. So
yeah.
that was more the focus. I only saw them, use their musical gifts in church. And so
Okay.
honestly, I thought that was all that I would do as well. I became the church musician when I was 12, a little small town, Bakersfield, California. And I thought that was it. And it wasn't until I went away to college that I joined this girls group and we were in the studio and I just, got my first taste of writing and
Oh,
producing and arranging. And I felt like, okay, this is definitely what I want to do. But up until that, I was not that little girl who said, oh, I want to be a
oh.
singer, an actress or anything. It really wasn't that. It wasn't until I, was around 18 years old.
It was just you being brought up. Did your mom keep any of the little writings of songs that you did when you were young? Did she keep those for you, or did you keep
We
them?
did it. It was
Oh,
almost like they would experience it in the moment.
yeah,
And it's so
yeah,
funny. My husband and I talk about how we don't have many recordings of ourselves or even,
yeah,
video when we were that
yeah,
age. And that would have been really special to have right now.
yeah.
Yeah.
Those home videos. Yeah, that's the way it
Yeah.
goes sometimes, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And then the song "Never Give Up on Love." How long did it take for you to write that? You know.
Davey and I, we work so fast. I remember Davey had a good amount of it established when I came to his studio, his home studio that day. But to make it tailor made for me, I obviously, brought what my influence was to it. But it was like in a few hours. That's just how
Oh,
we work. That's how we
nice.
work. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. So, how are you getting the word out there? Are you having interviews? Are you singing it out there live already? What's happening?
Yes, I have had a few opportunities to sing it live. I last year I was actually testing the waters. I said, You guys, I just want to try this new song. What do you guys think?" But I'm hoping to be able to do more of that this summer. I'm going to be doing some tour dates with Stevie Wonder in the UK, and as a special guest. And so I'm hoping I can try the song out for that audience. But yes, I've been doing so many incredible interviews, like the one with yourself today, which has been just so lovely. Thank you so much for having me. And it's been great. I've been able to really get the word out. Of course, social media, I try to bring it into every conversation
Yeah.
somehow. Yeah. So it's been great.
So you talked about when you were like 4 with the piano. When did you like take like the first lesson? Did you self-taught or?
Yes, no, I did have lessons formally. In fact, I ended up graduating Oakwood University with a degree in music emphasis piano. So I actually
Oh,
did continue. That's kind of a longer story because
yeah.
I told my mom when I was in the group, I said, "Mom, I want to drop out of school and just do this since I know what I love and this is it." And she said, "No, you're not going to do that." So you pick whatever you have the most credits in and then you graduate. And so that music was always my minor. And so I ended up,
Oh.
you know, but my very first lesson was with my mother.
Oh.
And I don't remember that as much because I think it was very short lived because she was very overwhelmed with all of the things she had going. She was going to school full time and she was working and raising
Oh.
kids and being a wife, and so sometimes she was a little short with me during the lessons. And so I remember her telling me years later, she said, "I didn't want you to lose your love for it. So
Oh,
I immediately got you a music teacher,
teacher.
a
Yeah.
piano teacher." And that was, I believe I was 7 at that time. So,
Wow. What a
yeah.
great mom.
Yeah, she is the best of the best. Yeah.
Yeah, they must be so proud of you.
Yes, yes. My mom and dad both are
That's
very, very
wonderful.
loving, very supportive, and really gave me a beautiful foundation for not only music, but my spirituality. And for me, that's very closely intertwined. And I'm just glad that I still love what I do. And I think that has a lot to do with my upbringing.
Oh, of course. And it
Yeah.
comes out when you sing. It's just in your voice too.
Oh,
So
thank
beautiful.
you. Thank
Uh,
you.
You're welcome. Tell us about the new PBS special coming up. I think it's coming up May 30th. Tell us about that.
That's right. It starts airing nationally on PBS May 30th. And just a really quick little thing, we really have to support, organizations like
Yeah.
PBS, especially in these times. So I just wanted to say that very
Thank
quickly.
you.
I have loved PBS since I was a little girl, and this will actually be my 10th PBS special. It's called Aretha Franklin with Sheléa and the Pacific Symphony. And it's conducted, and the music director is none other than Ricky Minor, a multi-Emmy award winning Ricky Minor, who has been such an angel in my life. But I premiered this show for the very first time actually in 2022 in at the Royal Albert Hall in London. And it was just incredible with full orchestra and singers, and the conductor was Jules Buckley, who
Oh,
he and I curated this show together, who I also just absolutely adore. I met him through Quincy Jones when we were doing some tours together, and he and I just had this immediate connection. We always said we wanted to do something together. When the moment came, that's what we chose to do. And it's just this beautiful love letter to Aretha and to her fans, really showing all that she was, and I believe still is, because
mm,
music makes you immortal. Aretha, the jazz singer, Aretha, the gospel singer, Aretha, the soundtrack, all these amazing soundtracks that we love, and just really putting some of her rare songs in there. Her version of Skylark, which I remember stopped me in my tracks the first time I ever heard it. Her collaboration with Quincy Jones, one of the very only few collaborative things they did together. Their version of Somewhere, where it goes into this
yeah.
whole jazz trio. She's playing jazz piano, and so with me being a pianist, I'm really able to bring all those songs, to life in such a meaningful way. We open the show with Precious Memories, which is really her gospel background, which to me was the core of who she always was, and she never ever denied and was ever ashamed of that upbringing because it was the church that raised her, very much like myself.
Yeah.
So we include all of those elements in this show. Yes, we do the hits. Yes, we do Natural Woman and
Yeah.
Respect and Think and all those great songs, Chain of Fools. But
Oh,
what I really love about this show is it really shows the completeness of who she was as an artist.
oh, and thank you, PBS, for bringing it to us. It's going to be amazing. I
Yes.
love what they do.
Me too, me too. And I want to give a special shout out to Mara Daly, who has always been my champion. And she, she was a huge reason why this show was made and presented to an American artist. Because American audience, because I've been actually touring this show in Europe. I've done it in
Oh.
Germany and the Netherlands. And so, it's great to bring it home to the USA.
As a singer, what is it like to have that whole orchestra and all those people behind you? Is it nerve-wracking for you the first time, or what's it like?
I'm trying to remember the first time I ever performed with an orchestra. I believe it was the Pasadena Pops,
Wow.
which are all so incredible. I think that was my first time, but if not, it was one of the first times. I just remember the music just washing over me. And I remember before that had happened, it was like this prayer, like, God, I want to perform with orchestras around the world. I want that to be like a part of what I do.
Oh,
And, sometimes you get so carried with what's next that you don't realize that you're kind of existing in like what you prayed for. And so I have been able to like perform with orchestras all over the world, all over the country. And yes, it never gets old, but it is just kind of nice to reflect and say, man, there was a time where none of this was happening. And so I do remember the first time. I remember I was doing some songs from Alan and Marilyn Bergman, who I had done this tribute album to them of all of their songs. And I was doing Will Someone Ever Look at Me That Way from their soundtrack, Yentl,
oh,
um, uh, Oscar award winning soundtrack. And I just remember in rehearsal in the sound check, and I was just like, I can't believe this is my life. I can't believe this is happening. So it didn't feel nerve-wracking, I think, at that point. I think I had already gotten to that point in my career where, the stage had really become such a safe space and really felt like home to me. And that's what it has become over the years. It wasn't always that way. Nerves, did used to get in the way.
yeah.
But now it feels like an honor. Like, wow, to me, strings, there's a reason why that term pull on your heartstrings is
Oh,
because, it really
yeah.
it brings you in and it enhances,
Yeah.
I think, any song, any genre. It just makes it grander and bigger and more emotional.
Yes, you're
Yeah.
exactly right. That's for
Yeah.
sure. When you have your performances, how ahead of time do you get your outfit ready? Do you have different outfits and gowns for all these amazing things and performances?
I am the gown queen.
Oh, yay! Oh,
Yes, yes. I love, preparing for those moments. Of course, I'm always thinking about how it's going to translate visually, but also how I'm going to feel in it because the last thing I want is to feel uncomfortable when I
yeah,
want to just be free,
yeah.
and that also applies to shoes as well. But no, I sometimes I prepare and then sometimes, I mean, I am ashamed to say, but not ashamed because it's just me. Same day sometimes.
Oh, wow, girl. That's
that
wonderful.
is that is either some faith or just some real, oh my goodness. But
Oh.
I always have something really, really fabulous. So yeah, that's a fun part of performing for sure.
Well, I read here that you performed at the White House, the Library of Congress, Carnegie Hall, the Kennedy Center, and the Vatican. Oh, do you have like a favorite of all the places you've gone that you just like, wow, I'm standing here?
right, the White House.
Oh, wow.
And by some miracle, I was able to perform at the White House twice. And
Oh my
you
goodness.
know, I'm not going to make this a political thing, but I will say that it's always an honor to be invited to the White House. You know,
Yeah.
just that's just how I feel.
Yes.
I was thankfully able to do it. Um, when President Obama and First
Yeah.
Lady Michelle were there, and that was just thrilling for so many different reasons. It feels so normal now that, you know, he was our president for 2 terms, and
Yeah.
you know, we've already moved on from that. And but
Yeah.
at the time, it was a big deal. It was a
Yeah.
big deal. It had
It was.
so many implications of where we thought our nation was, and you know,
Yeah.
healing from things of the past. And so my grandmother, who had been and my father, who was raised in the South in Birmingham, Alabama, you know, she's going to be 94
Oh, how
in
awesome.
end of May. Yes, just sharp as ever, just a beautiful Southern charm, and her, you know,
Hmm.
everything was, oh baby, baby, this, and you know, she's just the
Beautiful.
cutest little thing. But
Oh.
she lived through the civil rights movement, and
Hmm.
you know, all of the things that came with that. So when President Obama was first elected, it was something that she thought she would never ever see in her
Yeah.
lifetime.
Oh.
So I was able to bring my father, you know, which was her son.
Oh my goodness.
And so that is why that meant such a great deal to me, was because here was our first Black president, and now I was able to bring her son, someone that came from her, to experience such a, you know, something that for her was a just, and it seemed like impossible. Like I said, it feels normal now, but I do remember that feeling at the time where it was like, how is this happening? And so to be at the White House with all that was happening historically, I felt
Yes.
like I was just in the middle of a history book, you know, like, you know, it was just wonderful. And I had this beautiful story of us, you know, meeting them. We were very last in line. It was like a receiving line,
Yeah.
and my father and I were like literally the dead last ones in line to meet them. And so I was just thinking to myself, I'm sure their faces were tired of smiling and all, because it was a really long line. And so I remember it was finally our turn. And I said, you know, okay, we're the last ones. That's what I told them, you know, like, after this, you can relax a little bit. And I will never forget what First Lady Michelle Obama, she opened her arms and she said, they saved the best for last. And she
See?
just gave me the
Oh.
biggest hug. And President Obama, he was like, oh, I hear you got an album out. I hear you're about to blow up. And I was like, how does President Obama know about me?
Oh
How
my
does he
God.
know I exist? So it was incredible. I was honoring Burt Bacharach and Hal David, two of, I
Oh.
think, the most iconic songwriter production duos of our time, one of the most prolific songwriters and producers of our time. And I did Anyone Who Had a Heart.
Oh.
And it was just such a beautiful moment. And then some years later, Ricky Minor pulled me in, and I did a tribute to Ray Charles, and I did the Right Time with
Mm.
Anthony Hamilton, another incredible R&B soul singer. And I just remember it got so hot in the White House. President Obama started fanning Michelle
Oh.
during our song. It was just the most incredible moment. And I just remember opening my eyes at the end, and they had just stood to their feet, a rousing standing ovation, to get that
Mm.
from the Obamas and everyone there at the White House. Those are like the two moments I will never forget. They just can't be touched. It's just a once in a lifetime moment.
Congratulations. I can't imagine what you were going through. Oh,
Yeah.
beautiful. Another beautiful story. See,
Thank
you got,
you.
have you written at all? Any books?
I know.
There you go. Look at all these things right here. You could just cover it all. Amazing.
Yeah, thank you. But it's so funny. My nephew told me yesterday, I was talking to him. He said, Auntie, you should write a book. I said, thank
Mhm.
you, LJ.
second that, LJ. Yes. Oh my gosh. That's pretty awesome. Great stories. Let's talk a little bit about when did you get bit by the acting bug?
Wow. I honestly, that was something that I really have to just give credit to a collaborator, Christine Swanson. She was the director of this biopic, The Clark Sisters, First Ladies of Gospel. She and I had been working on something completely different, more just me existing in my musicality, which is, what I have always been in my comfort zone. That has been all that I have done. And so she said, I'm directing this biopic, and I think that you should, put your name in the hat for the role of Dorinda Clark Cole. And she's like, I can't make you any promises. I'm not necessarily the one who chooses, but, I think you should at least try. So I immediately got this acting coach, Josie Harris, who I just absolutely adore, and just spent intensive time with her to try to prepare for this role. I uh, turned in one audition. It wasn't a no, but it wasn't like a yes either.
Yeah.
And kept working, and I ended up. I will never forget this. I was touring with Dave Koz at the time, and it was 27 shows in 31 days.
Girl. Oh, you're a
And
robot.
so that was like just a few days off. So I had one day off. We were supposed to go to San Antonio, and and Christine said, "Well, I'm going to be in Detroit to meet with Karen Clark, Karen Clark Sheard, who is one of the original Clark sisters, and I think you should come." So this is like my one day off. I'm exhausted. I am absolutely exhausted. So I, this is not them saying we will pay for your trip or anything. No, get yourself to Detroit. So I put my little money together. I get me a little ticket, and I get a little hotel, and I go and I meet them, and Karen Clark Sheard's daughter is Kiera Sheard. Now her name is Kiera Sheard Kelly because she's married. Um, at that time, it was just Kiera Sheard, and I actually was Sheléa Frazier too. It's so funny how comes at you fast. But anyway, she and I met at her father's church, and she was wanting to play the role of her mother. And believe it or not, it wasn't just you know, a, a slam dunk for her either. It was like we were both wanting to, get this part. And so, because it was the producers who made the decision. So I remember going to the piano, and Christine said, "You guys should sing something." And so we sang this song from the Clark Sisters repertoire, so many incredible hits, Miracle. So I'm sitting at the piano playing, and then Kiera and I just start singing. Had never sung together before, had never met before. And we just fell right in. And when they sent that video to the producers, they said, that's Dorinda and Karen. You know,
Oh,
they
see?
saw it. They saw it in that moment. And so, the rest is history. And so, yeah,
Goosebumps.
so that was the moment that I got the bug, because I was not, again, like I said, I was not that little girl who wanted to be an actress. And even when I was a singer for all of those years, it never really occurred to me to go into acting. Um, but I loved it, and I never forget what Josie told me when I was having, it was such a shift for me, because I was so used to being in control, and
Oh,
knowing when I'm doing well, and when you become a master at what you do based on the hours and years, decades
yeah.
of building who you are and what you do, I do it without thinking. If someone asks me to sing on the drop of a dime, I can just do it in the moment, no warm up, no, because that's what I've been doing for so many years. But when I went into acting, it it really shook me to the core, because I was existing in a space where I had no idea when I was doing well. I had no idea when I was doing bad. If I was doing well, I didn't know how to do it again,
Oh, wow.
and so I felt like I was just free falling, and the one thing she told me, she said, Sheléa, you have been acting and being a storyteller in your music all this time. All you're doing is just transferring that from your voice, your singing voice, to now you're speaking. So when you put yourself in a song, if you sing, you know, the way we were, you know, and you're wanting to tell that story of memories, and longing for something, you're putting yourself in that person's position to make that song come to life. She said, that's all you're doing with acting. So this movie is not about Dorinda. This movie is about Sheléa. So when that clicked for me,
Oh,
it was
wow.
like, I'm just being myself. Every instinct that I have that I can now find that connects with Dorinda, I'm just being that. And so that's, I think, when you look at the greats, the singers and the actors, it's almost like there's nothing self-conscious about yourself, because you're just raw, you're bare, you're vulnerable, and you're present.
Yeah.
And once I was able to connect that, it just like everything just clicked. And I was so proud of myself. I can't say that I'm not going to make it like I have no I'm really happy with who I am as a person, but there's not always just this moment where I'm like, I'm proud of myself. I don't really say that very often to
Good for
myself,
you.
even though I do have I believe a great, understanding of who I am and appreciation of who I am. But in that moment, I was proud of myself. I was really proud of myself after the movie came out and everyone got such an incredible response. I got a really great response. People were telling me I just nailed it, that they felt like they were looking at Dorinda. And
Oh,
it's really incredible when the person is still alive. And so she would tell me, girl, you got me down, you know. So
oh,
that just felt so rewarding, that something that I was just in my from my perspective just completely, fish out of water with,
yeah.
to have been able to do the work and really commit and have this work ethic, that I was really able to pull something off like that. It was definitely a moment that I felt really, really proud of myself. It's been about 3 or 4 moments like that in my life. I'm like, you know what? You did that, girl. You did that.
So with that said, would you want to do another one?
I absolutely would. I would. That movie went on to be the number one television movie of 2020. It was kind of a double-edged sword, because it was the numbers, the ratings were so high, but we had no premiere. We couldn't do, we were
Oh,
nominated.
yeah.
Yeah, we were nominated for a Critics' Choice Award, an NAACP Image Award. We won a Stellar, so it really was a critically acclaimed film, but we weren't able to really,
Oh,
feel the momentum of that, because we couldn't go to any of these award shows. So I have actually since been in two smaller films, and one of them was really kind of cool because it had nothing to do with music. It was called Montrose Blood Rules. It had aired on TV1, and it was really cool. It was about this family who lived in the South and was trying to protect their land. Lots of secrets. So it was almost like, the black version of Yellowstone. It was really cool. It was going to turn into a TV series, but the climate for film and television can be very challenging these
yes.
days, and so I'm not sure what happened, but the movie, did very well. There was, a lot of great feedback from that. And then there was another movie I did called The Caregiver, that I played a police officer, a very, very small role, but it was it
Yeah.
was kind of cool. And so yeah, I've been doing some things along the way. I would love to do, another role that involves music, because I think that's so incredible when I can kind of combine those two, my love for acting and my first love for music. that was really rewarding, especially in the Clark sisters. We were singing live in the film, and so that was such an added texture that I think was really able to translate really beautifully.
And what was the name of that movie? The first one you did?
The first one was called The Clark Sisters, First Ladies of Gospel.
And is that out there where we can find it?
Yeah, yeah. I know at one point
Okay,
it was
I'll look it up.
streaming on Hulu. It might
Okay.
still be on Amazon. It still comes on Lifetime. That was the original
Okay.
home for it. But yeah, it did exceptionally, exceptionally well.
Oh, great. I'll look, see if I can find the link for
Yeah,
our
yeah.
viewers. That would be great. Also, did you perform with Stevie Wonder already, or are you going to go on tour with him?
I met Stevie many, many years ago, and
Mm.
but I actually used to sing background with him. And then it was such a beautiful full circle just this past fall. I toured with him, but I was his special guest this time. So I was
Oh,
able to sing my own original music, and have a little spot while he needed a little breather,
yeah.
between sets. So yeah, so that, and hopefully I will be able to join him again in July in the UK.
That'd be fun. So, do you
Yeah.
like abroad? Where do you like to sing over there? Who's your biggest fans over there in the like Europe and stuff,
Oh,
or Asian
wow.
countries?
I would say, so based on the information on Instagram, when you have like a music page, it will show you where your fans are.
Oh, great.
So yeah, it's really cool. So my number one place is obviously America. That's where the majority of my fans are. But very, very surprisingly, number two was Brazil.
Love those Brazilians. Oh
Yes,
my
I
gosh.
love me too.
Oh,
And
I
so
love it.
I had never been to Brazil until this earlier this year. My husband and I went on a personal trip for our anniversary because we got married December 31st. Our Christmas, our it's Chris is New Year's Eve, and I always tease him that he chose that date so he would never forget our anniversary.
What a man.
Exactly. So I would always tell him, I don't know if I remember telling him I'm usually working on that date, as a performer. He said, "No, I think that's great. You'll work, you'll wherever you are in the world, and then we'll use that as the kickoff to our trip." So this year, true enough, I was working and we were in Italy, and
Oh.
I was doing a show. I was doing a show there. Another wonderful place that I'm building a fan base there. I've been doing so many shows with the help of my dear beloved friend Marcello Lala.
Oh,
But we went to Brazil, and one of the days, oh my goodness, this is kind of like one of the most beautiful things that have happened to me on stage. I was in this small little club, and evidently this was where Sergio Mendes was developing that bossa nova sound. The club is still there.
oh man.
And by the way, he was a wonderful friend and collaborator. I had two songs on his last album, Songs in the Key of Joy. And so oh my goodness, I just loved him so, so very much. And so even going to Brazil, it was kind of me being close because he had just passed as well, along with Q, within I think months of each other. And so being there was just so special. And so I go into this little small club, and there's this beautiful singer who is just interpreting these beautiful Brazilian songs with a guitar. And I don't know if someone told her, I don't know what happened, but she looked right at me and she said, "Are you a singer?" But she said it in Portuguese. I knew cantante, like I knew a little bit. So I was like, I knew she was talking about singing.
Yeah.
So she motions for me to come up
Oh,
and wants me to sing something. And so the guitarist actually spoke a little bit more English. She didn't almost speak any English.
yeah.
And I ended up singing Autumn Leaves. He's
Wow.
accompanying me, so I sing the song, and then I sing it in English. All of this impromptu, not I have never laid eyes on this woman. And then she starts singing Autumn Leaves in Portuguese.
Oh,
And then at the very end, oh my God, I'm like, I don't know, I'm getting like teary eyed because I feel like I'm there again. It was just
yeah.
the most beautiful thing because so I do a line and then she does a line and like we're just overlapping Portuguese and English. And then we
Oh.
end together and she says the line in Portuguese and she's just expecting me to say it in English, but then I say it in Portuguese and we just do it together. It was one of the
Oh,
most miraculous moments on stage I have ever seen. And that just showed me the power of music, that just how
yeah.
it connects us, even if we can't um,
Speak the language.
speak the language, if we can
Yeah.
express ourselves through our language, we can
Yeah.
connect and express ourselves through music. So it was just one of the most beautiful things. So Brazil, I would love to go back. So I had posted that video. And so all these Brazilian fans came out of the woodworks. Where are you? Where are you? We want to come see you. We want to come see you. I said, this just happened impromptu. I wasn't, I wasn't like performing
Yeah.
anywhere officially. So I'm hoping that I can go back there very soon, even if it's something as simple and small as that, just with me and a guitarist and just doing just these beautiful songs. I would just, I really, really want to go back there sooner than later. But outside of that, like I said, London for me I've actually done the Royal Albert Hall the last 3 years in a row
Oh
since
man.
2022. So I've got a wonderful fan base there in London, and they've been, just so kind. Germany also, they've wanted me to come back, to do shows there too. So I just say, I want to be like, the greats before me. I want to I want to belong to the world,
Yes.
that I'm just a global artist that everyone can connect with what I do.
There you go. So it's Sheléa around the world. You have to do a book. You
Yes.
you showing it, the piano, call chapter of the piano, the
Yeah.
White House, every, Brazil, and you just do it like a fan base where you just talk about that, show us some pictures, and even ask your fans on Instagram, what do you think about that if you were there, and use those little lines in your book. I mean, you got an amazing book right there.
I love that. I absolutely love it. Thank you so much for the encouragement.
I'll be interviewing you next for your book, your
There we
autobiography.
go. There we go.
Special coming up on PBS. What's
Yeah.
happening for the rest of the year? I mean, can you believe it's May? Like
I I cannot believe that it's May and we're gonna blink, it's gonna be July,
July, right? Ooh,
and so I actually have a really, really new adventure coming this summer into the fall. I can't really speak too
okay.
specific about it, but it is an off-Broadway play. And I'm gonna be, just dipping my little toe into Broadway to see how I like it. So many people have told me you should be on Broadway, you should be on Broadway. And so I feel like this is an opportunity for me to just, fill it out and really see if it's something that I would love to do. But I'm really excited. It would be from end of August to November. So that will be quite a adventure. My husband's from New York, so we'll be closer
Oh,
to his mom, his sister and brother and our nieces. So we're just it'll be really fun. It'll be really, really fun.
you took my question. I was going to ask you, is Broadway in your future? Well, there you
There
go.
you go. Yes, 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 yes. I think it all depends on, the opportunity, the role. This particular one, it's definitely more in supporting.
Yeah.
But I think it's great for me to just kind of learn the ropes and the pace of it. It's a lot, it really requires a lot of stamina,
Yeah.
vocal stamina, pacing yourself, vocal
Oh.
health, all things that I have always been very, very aware of. I did have this opportunity the first time I met Q. I ended up being one of the first vocalists that opened his club in Dubai, in
Oh.
Palazzo Versace, Dubai. So yes, I do have a lot of chapters I could write. And so I bring this up because it reminded me a lot of Broadway because I would sing from um, I would sing from Tuesday to Saturday. And I would sing from 8, I'm sorry, 9 to 10, 10:30 to 11:30, and then 12 to 1. And I did that 5 nights a week. And so, with Broadway, it's like I'm not going to be singing, uh, the whole show.
Yeah,
I'm not going to be singing the whole show. So, I felt like that was kind of a boot camp experience for me.
no kidding.
And in fact, it was so crazy. Really, any singer will tell you, no one should be singing 3 hours every single night. And here I am thinking it's going to be more like Blue Note, to where it's different crowds at the 9 to 10. No, whoever came at 9 stayed till 1. So I had to have 3 hours of just a complete repertoire, every night. And then I would do that for like maybe a week or so. And then I would change the repertoire, so the first one, I got smart. The first 3 weeks, I was singing all 3 hours. Then I wised up and said, you know what? I play a little piano. I'm turning the first one into an instrumental hour. So I really got my piano chops up. I was doing all these, jazz standards, Misty, and all these different ones. And then the second one was like the more jazz standards, singing with some R&B. And then the last hour I turned into requests, which ended up being everybody's favorite hour, because I would like just do requests in the moment. So, but I feel like I bring that up because I feel like that experience, I could definitely, be able to handle the stamina of Broadway from doing that experience for sure.
I'm gonna have to save up my money so I can come to New York when this happens.
Yes, I would love
Oh
that.
my gosh, that would be so exciting. Oh, that beautiful voice to hear it live on Broadway. Yes. We'll have to keep us posted on that. What about your social media? How can our viewers find you?
Yes, it is. It is. Oh man, bird just flew into my
Oh,
window. Sorry. He's
oops.
okay though. He's okay.
Oh no.
um, it's the same for everything. It's Sheléa Music. So Shelea Music. And that's my website as well, shaleamusic.com.
Great. We will put that up there for our viewers. And also,
Great.
this interview will be going up on our YouTube channel, the Hollywood Times official. So
Great.
we look forward to that. Thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us here at the Hollywood Times, and blessings for everything. What an amazing career you've had. And it's going to go to Broadway.
Thank you so much. It was such a joy to spend this time with you this morning. Thank you so much for having me.
Yes. And happy 4th of July and Memorial Day. Well, yeah, they're all still coming, right? And we have all,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
hopefully we'll talk to you, later this summer to see what's coming up.
I would love that.
That would be
Absolutely. Yes,
great.
I'm going to be releasing a new single every last Friday of the month. So the first one was April
Okay.
25th. The next one will be later on this late. I think it's May 30th is that Friday. So yeah, and then it'll be the same for June, same for July, always the last Friday of every month. So you can look for some new music every month.
Great. So when you're done with those Fridays, let's talk the Friday after so we can talk about them all. How's that?
Perfect. I'm in.
Sounds good. Thank you so much. I appreciate your time.
Thank you. Have a great rest of your day. Thank you so much.
You do the same.